Present system of government in Kenya and Swaziland. The system of government in Swaziland. Swaziland is a landlocked country that is bordered by Mozambique to the northeast and South Africa to the north, west and south. The Kingdom of Swaziland was founded by King Josephat in the 1830s. It is one of the smallest countries and its capital city is Mbabane. Swaziland became a British protectorate during the period of the scramble for and partition of Africa. However, the king was allowed to continue ruling through the traditional system of government. Swaziland attained its independence in 1960 under the leadership of King Josephat. He was succeeded by the current King Mswati III, who was crowned king in 1986. Swaziland is ruled by a king. The position of the king is hereditary. The title of the king is Ngwenyama, meaning lion. Swaziland is ruled through a traditional system of government called Tinkhundla. The king is the head of the state. The country has a prime minister who is appointed by the king. The prime minister is the head of government. The prime minister makes recommendation to the king on whom to appoint to the cabinet. The king is assisted by the Swazi National Council, known as Likoko, appointed by the king. The Queen Mother Indlovukazi is one of the advisors of the king. The Swazi Parliament is made up of two houses. One, the Senate. Some of the members of the Senate are appointed by the king, while others are elected by an electoral college. This means that leaders are elected by a small number of representatives. 2. The House of Assembly. Some members of this assembly are appointed by the king. Most of the other members are elected by the electoral college. The county has a court system consisting of 4 regional magistrate courts, the Supreme Court, High Court and Swazi Traditional Courts. The king appoints the judges. There is a civil service which implements government policies and helps in administering the country. There are no political parties in Swaziland. The king and the Likoko are the main centers of power in the Swazi government. Similarities and differences in the system of government in Kenya and Swaziland. Similarities. Though there are many differences in the system of government between Swaziland and Kenya, there are also similarities. There are 3, and I'll explain in effect. The president in Kenya and the king in Swaziland are commanders-in-chief of the defense forces. 2. The government in both Kenya and Swaziland have civil servants to implement government policies. 3. The parliament in Kenya and the parliament in Swaziland consist of 2 houses. Differences. Differences in the system of government in Kenya and Swaziland. You have Swaziland, you have Kenya. In Swaziland is a kingdom headed by hereditary king, while Kenya is a republic headed by an elected president. In Swaziland, government consists of the king, a national council and parliament. In Kenya, government consists of executive, legislature and the judiciary. In Swaziland, membership to parliament is by appointment by the king and election by an electoral college. In Kenya, members of parliament are elected by the people, others are nominated by political parties. In Swaziland, there are no political parties in Swaziland. In Kenya, there are many political parties in Kenya. The party of the presidential candidate who wins the majority of votes during election forms the government. In Swaziland, there are no general elections to elect the king. However, elections to elect some members of the House of Assembly are held every 5 years. In Kenya, general elections to elect the president and the members of other elective positions as stipulated in the Constitution, are held after every 5 years. In Swaziland, the king rules until he dies. In Kenya, the president rules for a maximum of 2 5-year terms as stated by the Constitution. Organization of African Unity. The Organization of African Unity, OAU, was an association of independent African countries. It existed from 1963 July 2000, when it was renamed the African Union, AU. Formation of the OAU. The formation of the OAU was as a result of the several conferences that were organized by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and other African leaders between 1955 and 1963. The All-African People's Conference held in Accra, Ghana, 1958, and in Tunis, Tunisia, 1960, are examples of such conferences. The aim of these conferences was to create unity among African states and to identify ways of achieving political, economic, and social freedom from the colonialists. The OAU was formed on 25th May 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, the head of state signing the OAU Charter. The leaders who were present were from African countries that were independent by then. The leaders included Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Julius Nyerere of Tanzania, Emperor Exile Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, Ben Bella of Algeria, Colonel Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt, and Siaka Stephen of Sierra Leone. Emperor Haile Selassie became the organization's first chairman, and Addis Ababa became the headquarters of OAU. The OAU was formed by 32 independent African states. As other African states achieved independence after 1963, they also became members of the OAU. Members of OAU. Membership to the OAU is open to all independent countries of Africa. Member countries are as follows. In North Africa, we have Algeria, Egypt, Western Sahara, Libya, and Tunisia. In Central Africa, we have Chad, DRC, Central African Republic, Gabon, Cameroon, Sao Tome and Principe, Congo, and Angola. West Africa, we have Guinea, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Nigeria,